Alrighty, I think we're live. Sounds like we're live. Looks like we're live. Getting stream chat pulled up on my phone now. Oh, that's a fun YouTube short to see right now. The new Ashling card has a mistake, apparently. I'll have to check that out later. But for now, chat is open. I can see anything any of you say. Alrighty. And now we just wait. Let people pour in, get excited for the kickoff. If anyone's here yet, hope y'all are doing well. Just gonna throw a little bump into GP chat. Oh, I forgot you had this tab open and thought you'd encountered a very strange audio glitch in Silk. I am also playing Silk Song, and that is in fact most of what I have been doing with my day since I got back from the card shop. I played Silk Song. I stopped playing Silk Song about 2 hours ago. Got ready to do my stream, and then got back to playing Silk Song because the stream was delayed because the tournament was going back to its usual start time. uh, I have been very much enjoying Silk Song. I will not say too much about where I'm at because I don't know how far you are, Magma, and I don't know how you feel about spoilers. I have been heavily spoiled on it, and I'm fine with that. The game's really difficult, so I just take joy from the difficulty of doing the thing, and I try to fly as blind as I can for as far as I can go, and then I start looking up like, where's the things I'm missing? I want to get all the things before I move on. Um, but I'm in Act 2, and Act 2 is really, really hard. I'm bad at video games, so it's giving me trouble. I'm not that bad at video games. I feel like some of the bosses I've been doing really well. You have 100% of the game and are currently running Steel Soul attempts. Oh, bless you. You are spoiler clear. The furthest I have gotten is that I literally just beat I literally just beat Phantom. I went through the last judge to get to Act 2, and then have just encountered and defeated Phantom. And I'm proud of myself. I beat Phantom in one try. I can't say that about almost any other boss. Most bosses I've gone 1-1 against, some of them have absolutely styled on me. Yeah, Phantom was a really fun fight. It's one of those fights where it's like I feel like a lot of the damage that I took really was truly my own fault. Managed to beat the whole game without spoilers. Damn. We were also playing like right when it came out, because I remember we talked about it uh when uh in the decklist ahead of the decklist stream. Or I think we might have even talked about it during the decklist stream while we were waiting on decks, prior to the decklists going live for that month's tournament. I don't know how I feel about cross stitch so far. I think it's kind of a fun move, but I've never been great with parry moves. You can't trust me with a parry character in Smash Bros because I will just not be able to use it properly. Everyone has a problem with one Act 1 boss, but it's different for everyone. I really struggled with Widow, and it was for very embarrassing deaths. Like, genuinely like phase one Widow, I was really clean. Yeah, Widow for you as well. I was really good at phase one Widow, and then phase two, I would suddenly just forget how to use my thumbs on my controller. Okay, all of us kind of struggling with Widow. First big difficulty check. Yeah, Sister Splinter was the first boss to dole out more than one kill to me. Then I had the same problem with Skull Tyrant. Then I had the same problem with Widow, and then I kind of just had to be really patient from there. Beast Crest user. I see. I have really taken a liking to Wanderer Crest. Phase 3 Widow is one of the first bosses that demands you be aggressive. Yeah, that's so true. I've gotten much more comfortable. I got really comfy with the last judge fight. That was a fun fight. I was really bracing for the last judge to piss me off. I like that fight a lot. I think both of the fights that gate Act 2 are really cool. Which is good, like, right? Like, if those are going to be mandatory fights and you have to choose one of the two, good that both of them are cool, and so you just choose which one you prefer doing and which route you prefer doing. And I think if I start going for the speedrun achievements, I will be choosing the last judge, because screw the mist. I don't like the mist. I also don't like Sinner's Road. Ultra defensive Reaper playstyle. Yeah, that would do it. Again, like Widow for me, I just kept dying because I kept like just doing really stupid movement decisions. I would just jump right into the bells. I'd see the bells coming from a mile away, and I'd just decide, what if I just jumped into the path and then just took a bunch of damage? And then what if I just took a bunch of damage from my hitbox overlapping with theirs? But I am at least relatively aggressive. I very much like nail builds. That was true in Hollow Knight as well. And I especially love just dash attack and dashing into enemies reliably. So that letting me kind of ride off of a more aggressive playstyle does help a lot. I don't use my silk skills enough. I need to get more comfortable using them. It's just the same problem that I had with using spells in Hollow Knight, which is that why would I want to use the thing that hurts enemies when I could do the thing that keeps me from dying? Oh yeah. I've had moments of getting pissed off with Silksong a little bit. It's similar to my experience with Hollow Knight, where I ride the highs of like, this is a really fantastically crafted game, and then I experience the lows of like, I want to personally have strong stern words with Team Cherry. Um it's the third indie game where I feel like my relationship with it is just deeply complicated. Because uh I think it is masterfully crafted, truly, utterly excellent, and also it pisses me off, and I don't know if I could truly say I love it, um, because it pisses me off. Certainly, I kind of just stared into middle distance when I heard the first four notes of the game's opening sequence be the fucking Deus Irae. I was like, oh, we're doing this, huh? All right. All right, Kubrick. Um, yeah, I do. I think much as is true of the one non-Team Cherry game where I have that sort of love-hate relationship with, it is a game that I will be very comfortable saying is just like properly really well done. And I think I will reliably turn to it and say, that is a game that earns my full respect. Um, the non-team Team Cherry game, making sure I can say words properly. We're gonna be doing a lot of that tonight. The non-team Cherry game that comes to mind for me in that regard is Tunic. Tunic is a really well crafted game. I 100%ed it, and I wanted to quit the entire way through. I've never had a game make me feel more stupid. And it's because it's just so intricately well crafted with all of the details right in front of you, but you don't know how to decipher it. And that's the whole basic premise, is that you have to learn how to decipher the rules and the environment as you go. And learning the mechanics of the game is one of the mechanics of the game. But as a result, not knowing the mechanics and then realizing the mechanics and going, wait, it's that fucking simple? God, Ugh. You jump into Silk spoilers. I'm trying to keep Silk spoilers to a minimum. Um, Magma and I are both currently skonging, but at different capacities. I'm on Act 2. Magma has gotten much further than me. Game that made you feel the most stupid was Fez. I never got the pleasure of playing through Fez. I got to try the demo back when it was first out, but I didn't get too far in the demo and then just never really latched onto it. I remember the documentary around it because it was around that and Minecraft and I forget Braid, I think. Around the creation of those three games, if I remember correctly. And it was mostly looking at like Fez and Braid, I think. And I was a little kid who was like, "Whoa, Minecraft reference." Oxygen not included. My game melts. Uh, God, Outer Wilds. I don't think I could play. I've never experienced Oxygen not included, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. I've never heard of Shenzhen. But yeah, no, I know for a fact I could never do Outer Wilds. I struggle with existentialism. That is a hard line for me to cross. I thought that might be what you meant, Lee. Uh, yeah, yeah. I think like Tunic is that kind of game where my brain melted. Shenzhen IO. I have not heard of that. I'll have to look it up if I can remember it. I already have one thing I have to remember, which is to harass Prov about Idol. So we'll see if I remember anything. Game that made you feel the most stupid was Lingo 2. I'm not familiar with that either. The thing I will take most pride in of the game that made me feel dumbest is that I did the entirety of Tunic's Golden Path without a guide. I'm proud of that. It was an absolute nightmare, but I did it without a guide. Programming game where you have to write assembly with strict line count restrictions. Oh, so it's literally just like having someone stand over your shoulder telling you do the programming right. Cool, that's hell for me. So much of my coding back when I was taking classes, I loved adding like little notations to clarify what things were. I had to. I had to be like, everything has a little notation telling you exactly what like each line of code does. I didn't like painstakingly do it for every single line of code, but my code base was usually pretty clean. It was also usually not super complicated because I never got too advanced. I wish my coding knowledge hadn't completely evaporated, though. It's been so long since I've applied any of it, and it's just there's loose thoughts rattling around in my brain, but so much of it is just kind of vanished. All right, I'm actively staring at GP chat because it looks like we are closing in on deck lists locking in. Game about the English language. So clever that it left you with a lastingly more positive impression of the entire language. Oh, that's cool. Just a brilliant puzzle game. That's really cool. I'm like give or take with puzzle games. Sometimes I really latch onto a puzzle game. Sometimes I kind of just stare at a puzzle for 10 minutes, not necessarily because I'm struggling with it, but just because I'm struggling to understand why I'm putting myself through it. I have ADHD. That's where I'm ending that statement. Is why Metroidvanias are so good for me. Is because I can just latch onto it and immediately get through it. And by immediately, I mean over the course of days and weeks. Alrighty, pairings are up. I almost clicked the stop streaming button. This is the button I need to click. Get rid of the deck lists text because we are in business. Looks like 12, 23 players. Oh, Baba is you. Um, yeah, that. Oh my God, Chip and Lee in round one. That rivalry will never end. I'm glad that my rivalry with Prov has evaporated. I just get to cheer on Prov and not suffer anymore. It's because Prov stopped playing mono green. Alrighty. So let's get into the deck list review. I'm excited to see what Lee's brought because it sounds like Chip is not thrilled about that. We are kicking off with, it looks like, is this just a, no, this is a Jeskai one. Jeskai Battles. Jeskai Battle Control is a deck that I know Chip has been tinkering with for a while. Since we got Battles, so, 5 months now. And obviously lots of goodies in the new set, like Ukius Crusaris. I'm never going to get that name right, or feel like I'm getting that name right. But, who needs Lightning Helix? Who needs Lightning Helix to go face when it can draw you an 8-drop? Won't be able to stay for long, but I'm excited to tune in. Excited to see if there's any cool novel brews. I mean, I don't think we've seen a ton of battle control in GPs, so I feel like that's kind of novel in its own right. Even if, it's existed for 5 months, it's been Chip putting in a lot of the legwork to make it exist, I think. And certainly lots of new goodies here between Ukius Crusaris, Eltanon. We see Chart the Cosmos here is a 2 of. This is like one of the only chart cards. What isn't a brew the first GP of the year? That's so true. Yeah, this is a really nice blend of like good control cards that we've had from months prior and just like some of the best new control lead goodies of the new set. Crusaris, Eltanon, both really good adventure cards. I'm not as high on the dragons or on the adventure cards in general when you don't have some way to like kind of benefit from having it be a big creature with the removal spell attached. Like I really, really like the battles in the context of Rejuvenation Session. Or sorry, the adventure creatures in the context of Session. But, Lightning Helix that quote-unquote draws you a card, and just X, white, get rid of everything mana value X or less. Those are both really clean effects. And when you're backing Eltanon up as the 5th board wipe alongside 4 copies of Deafening Clarion, aggro decks are really going to hate this matchup. 1 copy of Stargazing seems pretty clean. 3 Offset Daemon, 2 Discern. I'm kind of bouncing around here. 4 Overrule Thought, 2 Seafloor Treasures, 3 Electronic Countermeasures. I mentioned the 2 Chart the Cosmos. I like the Chart the Cosmos. I said this earlier, but I kind of bounced off of it. I think this is one of the only chart token cards where I'm actively excited that the token is a chart, because it's one of those cards that really seems tailored for control decks. Like, I think if any card is going to sell me on the idea of charts being fine as they are, it is Chart the Cosmos, because it is just such a simple, innocuous spell that sits here to say, hey, just, replace me for 1 mana, cycle me for 1 mana, and the next time you have 2 mana to spare and your opponent doesn't give you something to use your counterspell on, or your Lightning Helix on, maybe you can just draw your next land drop. It's really solid, really reliable. I'm a big fan of Chart the Cosmos, especially compared to most of the rest of the chart cards. Um, and then 3 Clash at Mistrit Vale, 4 copies of Path of Scales, and then 2 Clash at Orith Cross. So 7 board wipes total across the 4 Deafening Clarions, the 1 Eltanon, and the 2 Clash at Orith Cross. Lots of card draw and card selection through 1 Stargazing, 2 Charts, 2 Discerns, 2 Seafloor Treasures, and Clash at Mistrit Vale is going to spiral the board really quickly, going to really aggressively discount some of your better removal spells like Electronic Countermeasures, going to discount your other battles. I guess, this lets your 2-mana Eltanon Adventure have X's 2 without having to pay extra mana into it. And if you really have to, you could spend 3 mana to clear everything mana value 3 or less and just lose your Clash at Mistrit Vale. In a pinch, that could be handy. Bummer that this doesn't really help you get to the adventure creatures, but a control deck with 25 lands, I think, is going to be more reliably able to get to those land drops to eventually turn this 10-drop and this 8-drop into real win conditions if needed. And then, of course, Defeating Path of Scales, really good. Very strong. And really nice that Electronic Countermeasures clears every single one of the battles. So that's pretty handy. Land base is 1 mountain, 2 plains, 3 island, 3 primal fissure, 3 silent lakefront, so more counter spells here. 4 each of Misty Peak and Windbeaten Stones, so really leaning in on wanting to generate that red mana here. 3 Lucent Basin, and 2 Rousing Path. I wonder, what's the rationale behind more always untapped red sources? Because it seems like blue is really the color that's most important, both early on and later on. Like, Chart the Cosmos, Stargazing are your only 1-mana plays. Discern. I wonder. I'm like, deeper into the game, white seems more important in excess. But then here's Rousing Path generating blue and red. Maybe it's a consideration for the fact that Silent Lakefront excludes red. Maybe. You wanted Silent Lakefront more than any other tap land. Okay. And because that gets you primarily white and blue, you want to just have more red shocks than other shocks. Understood. I mean, ultimately, you still get 11 out of the 12 shocks, so. Sideboards 4 Savvy Smith, 2 Ulfven Skylord, 4 copies of Shock, 2 Fateful Ascent, 3 Primordial Gateway. So seems really skewed towards, if you can't beat aggro in the main somehow, you bring in the shocks to have an even better game against aggro. Gateway to punish the sacrifice decks, punish the looter decks, punish the odd life hacker deck, I guess, in case those pop up. Fateful Ascent's just really good removal, and especially I think in against control matchups. Just having a larger removal spell seems really good. Skylord seems like the thing you bring in against control. And then Savvy Smith. I see the theory behind Savvy Smith. I'm not quite sure when or you would want to bring this in, especially with only 18 spells that trigger it in the main. But, Stargazing can be played once per turn cycle. Seafloor Treasures and Discern can be replayed. So I do see the logic. I guess when you just have larger top end stuff you want to cut out, maybe this just comes in over the top end stuff. It gives you more momentum. Tokens between this and Clash at Mistrit Vale do go pretty hard. Seems solid. I mean, yeah, I have a lot of respect for battle control. I remember, Savvy Smith comes in when Clarion comes out. Ah, that makes sense. Yeah, they do kind of contest. So I guess when you don't really want Clarion, Savvy Smith gives you a little more momentum and pressure against those larger decks that are kind of immune to the 3 mana, 3 damage wipe. All right, that tracks. Alrighty. All right. I get to talk about my deck next, and I'm going to be rather brief with this because the deck tech is coming soon. I'm migrating from green looters. We are no longer red-green. We are officially black-green, or black-red. I have, I guess, made it a tradition at this point that a month has begun, and so I am obligated to play looters. In the past 2 start of season tournaments, I have kicked off the season with a red-green looters deck, although back in Exalted Twill-Tree, I kicked it off with a Jund looters deck. And back in the end of that tournament, I had come away with the conclusion that I felt like the splash for black for Exorcist of Errors and some stuff in the sideboard did not really pan out very well. But I do think Exorcist is still just one of the best black creatures in the format and just one of the best creatures in the format, and any excuse to play Exorcist in a deck that is capable of applying pressure is going to probably just cause some headaches. And I think what this set has done more than anything is give us some really good reasons for looters to be in black. I think Mercenary of Dusk is really, really good. I like my Menace creatures. I think Ignited Soul has really proven to me that people will just not be able to deal with annoying Menace creatures early on. And this thing will murder you while fueling my Fabricated Anomaly. And it also fuels March of the Long Night, which is going to deal 3 to the opponent while getting back my Fabricated Anomalies or my Spirit Realm Phoenixes. I said in the set review that I felt like black aggro would just always say yes to an unearth that comes with a lava spike attached to it. I stand by that. I'm going to kind of prove my point that, like, lava spike on an unearth is really good. Obviously has some weaknesses compared to either of those cards. You have to have a target in your graveyard. And if that target gets hit with graveyard hate, you fizzle the loss of life. So it is an interactable lava spike that requires a condition to be met. Fortunately, Looters is very good at meeting that condition, and if the opponent has the interaction, then they're saving it for dealing with March of the Long Night and not with my board. So I'm fine with that. I'm backing that up with 3 copies of Manifest Knot is an experiment. I think this card could be really good. 2 mana draw 2, but I deal 2 to my opponent instead of myself is great. I started off with versions of this deck that were playing ways to make the opponent discard a little more aggressively. I had Pressuring Ghoul. I had the new triple red-black hybrid creature in place of Spirit Realm Phoenix, the 0/3, with Flying Haste, and whenever it attacks, opponent may discard a card. If they don't, they lose 3 life. And I was really high on the 0/3 for a while because I was like, well, it 0 power with Fabricated Anomaly, that's really good. Misfit Archivist is really good with Fabricated Anomaly. But I ultimately decided that, this just kills people. And Pressuring Ghoul, for as much as I love that card, has the problem of really needing to be your, turn 3 play followed by a fetch land. And even then, it's kind of awkward. So I figured, just play creatures that are good on their own and then kill my opponent with them. Dark Sun Migrant, Face of Animosity is the reason you need 4 shock in your 75. Yeah, I understand. This card is profoundly messed up. I cannot imagine this will remain this way through the entirety of this season. I think if this exists in this capacity, by the time that Worlds comes around, I don't know how I'm going to handle Worlds this year. Yeah, I think Dark Sun Migrant is really messed up, and I would be remiss to not give it a try in the deck that I feel like is becoming one of my most known decks. It is the known quantity for me. If you see me playing at the start of a season, it's safe to assume I'm probably on Looters. Keeping mana base simple, 4 Sanguine Palace, 2 Erosive Path, 4 Temple of Origins, 4 Swamp, 3 Mountain, 4 Primal Fissure. The mana base was a little tricky here because all of my 1-drops really want to be played off of an untapped red source, but they also really want to be an untapped black source for Mercenary of Dusk. So kind of skewed the mana base towards a second copy of Erosive Path over a 4th Mountain. To just kind of maximize the number of lands that I have that cast 1-drop into Mercenary of Dusk. I really like this shell. I think the shell is very dangerous. I'm playing Calamity Cat. I will stand by. I think Calamity Cat is still very good. I know nobody has really played it besides me since it was nerfed. I'm going to probably continue being the only one playing it since it's nerf. And that's fine. I'm allowed to be wrong, and I'm allowed to prove to you all that I'm not. I like this card a lot still. My sideboard is 3 copies of Dire Visionary, 4 copies of Twilight Ambush, 4 copies of Absentia, and 4 Coordinated Shot. Coordinated Shot is here to kind of just slot in for when I feel like I need more flexible removal, when I need like repeatable removal. In a lot of ways, I feel like I treat this as like, what if I need my removal spell to deal damage later on in the game? Was kind of the thing where it's like, if I wasn't on Manifest Not, I'd probably be on Coordinated Shot in the main. Or like splitting shot between main and sideboard. Absentia is the like cheap hand attack, and if I truly deeply feel like I need to deal with the opponent's graveyard, this is the thing I board in. Because I need it to be a proactive card that can mess with my opponent's hand, or also, you know, pick a reanimation target out of the graveyard if they just leave themselves open. Or leave them paranoid to leave themselves open. That's also great. Twilight Ambush for aggro mirrors, and then Dire Visionary for matchups where I feel like my opponent's trying to really hammer away my board. Dire Visionary is my way of solving that by just kind of trying to go wider and focus on running out fewer of my individual cards for letting Dire Visionary just kind of go wide on its own. I think maybe I could see swinging the 4th Dire Visionary in favor of just going down to 3 Absentias, but I'm pretty happy with where this is at. I kept the sideboard simple, kept the main deck pretty simple. All 4 ofs save the Manifest Not. I've been pretty happy with this in goldfishing. I have no idea how it's going to fare in practice, but I'm pretty keen to find out. Alrighty. Hey, I can see what Lee's up to right now, and oh god. This is a shell I actually kind of messed around with a little bit and couldn't quite figure out. This is 4-color Aristocrats. 4-color because it is in blue for Envoy of the Fallen and nothing else. Doesn't even look like there's anything in the sideboard to justify the blue splash. And then it is in green for Arcade Junkies and Wildermoon Compulsion. I can't make up my mind on how I feel about Wildermoon Compulsion, because I think where I keep landing on it is if you're not hitting it off of a Devoted Lackeys, if you're not sacrificing Devoted Lackeys to this, I kind of just don't care. But it is a 4/4 that draws a card, like replaces the thing you sacrifice. That is good. Like, this is a deck that's really good to playing to the board, and then occasionally you just explode your opponent into a billion pieces. So, full 8 of the 1-mana 1/1 with additional text and makes a treasure when it dies. 1 Pathetic Cocoon to get to the 9th 1-drop. 4 copies of Smiling Sludge on the 2-drop slot. 3 mana is Arcade Junkies as a full playset, as well as 1 Kage's Mercenary. Junkies is just really good, I think. Full playset of Envoy of the Fallen on 4, and then 2 Godslaughter Titans. A little surprising. I feel like this probably would have fallen off with the Hollow Chamber nerf, but we're also on the full playset of Hollow Chamber still, so clearly there is some theory behind it. Full playset of Deadly Dispute alongside 3 Sundering the Fleet, singleton copy of Duress in the main to go with the 3 in the sideboard, and then the 3 Bind Life to Steal and 2 Wildermoon Compulsion. Yeah. I think this is about the most logical end point for this kind of shell. I really do like Ikosa, the new red-green legend that is a free sacrifice outlet, but I do think that when you have Envoy of the Fallen, why are you bothering with any other free sac outlet? Like, this is just the best, without question. Mana base is 4 Hollowed Chamber, which enters tapped unless you have a non-basic Swamp, so naturally one of each of their basics with 4 Primal Fissures. So Primal Fissure probably almost never getting that Swamp, I think, unless you are just desperate for turn 1 black mana for Omen Skulker. 4 copies of Sanguine Palace, 4 copies of Profane Grove, and 1 Enigmatic Fen. Mono black seems to be the name of the game in terms of that mana base, and I kind of get it. Outside of the Newborn Oni, the Arcade Junkies, and the top end, like, a lot of your deck is kind of just mono black. Wildermoon Compulsion, factor in that conversation. 1 each Erosive Path and Forlorn Path. Yes, it's really like a Jund deck splashing the blue for Envoy. Jund in, like, quotation marks, because the green feels like a splash here as well. This is still really just black-red in a lot of ways. Sideboard is 2 Inklight Dancers, the other 3 Duresses that I mentioned, the 3 copies of Frag, full playset of Work Safety Violations, and 3 Golden Bloom of the Silenced. Yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about Envoy just because I feel like I have a complicated relationship with this card. I have feelings about it because it has made my set design more difficult for its existence. The most annoying part of the deck is your non-black lands just can't cast some of the most important spells. Yeah, that is fair. And so you really do need, like, a lot of black sources in your mana base, just because so many important spells here are based in black. Yeah, I have a complicated relationship with Envoy of the Fallen. It has made my design process more difficult. I won't go into it too much, but in the process of reviewing my feedback for my custom set, because it did not get in, obviously, this month, one of the things that was noted was that my set has a mechanic that generates pretty disposable creature tokens, and the whole premise is that they are meant to be disposed of. And one of the curators raised the concern that it seems a bit suspect given the nature of trinket tokens history within Revolution, especially considering the strength of Aristocrats decks right now. And the thing that was frustrating for me to me for that is that I understand where the curator was coming from, but I did not start designing my set after the Nylon buff patch went live. So it felt like I was kind of just in a hell spot of not being able to predict this redesign and know that this was going to juice Aristocrats as much as it was. We'll see if Envoy gets to stick around as it is. Obviously, it's not doing the obscene combo thing anymore. But I feel like something's going to budge on Envoy still. And the fact that somebody's bringing it, like, I feel like we're going to see Lee push this pretty far. We obviously know how well Lee can push this deck. So we'll see how this goes. If Lee gets to really make a name for Envoy once again. Kumrak, surprising no one, is on Golgari midrange. Full playset of Huskforger Acolyte, playset of Exorcist of Errors, playset of Ozonwood Merc, playset of Blightstalker, 3 copies of Inner Ring's Pupil, 2 Meteor Hellion, 4 copies of Lifehacker, and 1 Femoros Redeemer. Redeemer is pretty sweet alongside the Blightstalker edition. And I do like that the idea here is that between Acolyte and Merc, you have enough things to do on your first 2 turns to tee up all of these 4-drops on turn 3, which is pretty sweet. Instants are 3 copies of Twilight Ambush and 3 copies of Sovereign's Execution. Just get some removal in there. 3 copies of Receive. Nice little bit of a draw package here. 25 lands here, but backing that up with 4 creature lands across 2 Heap, Ludicon, 2 Gallowsprout, Timber, 5 Swamps, 1 Forest, 4 Temple of Origins, 4 Profane Grove, 3 Forlorn Path, and 4 Primal Fissure. So even with the 1 Forest, 5 Swamps, and even with Gallowsprout Timber coming in tapped on turn 1, there's still, I think, enough untapped green sources to get away with the turn 1 Husk Forger between the Temples, the Profane Groves, the Paths, and the Fissures. And obviously, with Ozon Woodmurk being the alternative ramp source, it's not the worst thing in the world if you have to wait until turn 2 to get your Mana Dork online, because of the fact that this just gets to do the thing while you also get to swing in with a 2-1. I'm definitely happy to see Ozon Woodmurk putting in some work. I wonder why I started stumbling over that sentence, because I think this card is really sweet, and knowing that it is getting to get some reps in here in its final season is exciting. Sideboard is that 4th Twilight Ambush, 4 copies of Duress, 3 copies of Go Blank, because if people were running Chronicle of Extinction for hand attack, just play the cheaper version of that and stop worrying about Chronicle rotating. 4 copies of Culling Ritual, because if you... I'm going to stop with that bit already. Culling Ritual, obviously very good. And 3 copies of Crucible of the Burning Sun for graveyard decks. Yeah. It feels weird to call it stock, because obviously the whole deal is that this has very much been Kumrak's baby over the last several months. And this is just the latest glow up for the strategy, with like little improvements here and there, through things like Blightstalker, Ephemeros Redeemer, Meteor Hellion. But yeah, Twilight Ambush, really big pickup for the strategy. Excited to see how this deck fares. Kumrak always puts on a good show with this deck. So up next is Scribble on Big Rakdos. This is another one of these kind of shells that I was trying to figure out, so it's cool to see this here. 3 copies each of Nuile, Exodus, and Draconos Tyrannos, also known as the funny old spells we used to have in rotation. Like the funny 2-mana Edict that had Coalesce, or the funny 3-mana Deal 4 that had Invoke. I think these are both reasonably good spells. I think they're attached to reasonably scary bodies. And if your whole game plan is to kind of try and get up there in terms of mana, these do a really good job of paying you off for that. 2 Cathella and Light Catalyst is really good with that as well. Really solid top-end Planeswalker. In my like rough play testing, it has felt very strong. Sorceries are 2 Lament of the Long Night. Surprising me, I did not really expect to see this card see any play, but obviously Scribble is the set designer, so they might know something I don't. Full playset of Terminal Impact for obvious reasons. 2 Earthly Absolution, pretty great way to expend a bunch of mana. Full playset of Eyes Gone Dark, also surprising me, but obviously Scribble, being the set designer, knows a little bit more about how this feels in practice. 1 copy of Psionic Backlash. Full playset of Nightfall. Full playset of Shigani Manor Burns. 2 copies of Panic. 1 Atomic Core. And 4 Pact Beyond Death. A lot of things to do on early turns, despite this being a big mana deck, and not a lot of ways to really go big mana per se. Really, it's just Shigani Manor Burns, Atomic Core, but you just kind of bridge into your top end, and then you just play big top end Haymaker into big top end Haymaker, and your opponent just eventually dies. For the land situation, 24 lands, but that's going to be the 4 Sanguine Palaces, the 4 Temple of Origins, as well as 1 of each Caersol and Karaz Observatory, and 1 each Starless and Sulphurous Nebula. So bounce lands in here to kind of improve early hands a little bit. And then 6 each Swamp and Mountain. No fetch lands. Sideboard is 3 Karaz Lay Spire. Seems like a very reasonable include in this kind of shell. 4 copies of Twilight Ambush for obvious reasons, 2 copies of Star Squall for obvious reasons, I think. I think this is just a really clean option when you aren't looking to have a bunch of hasty creatures necessarily. 3 copies of Duress and 3 Crucible of the Burning Sun makes sense. Alrighty. Admiral Ivy is on Canonizing Libra Casimiros. Ah! It's a blue-black Casimirs deck. Interesting. Also on Eyes Gone Dark. Also on Atomic Core. So this is another, like, Nightfall Atomic Core, Eyes Gone Dark. Like, another black-based control deck with the full playset of Nightfall. Also on Nuele Exodus, but only 2 copies, alongside 2 Draconos Magistus. And 4 copies of Lutra Inquisios as card selection, backed up by the Chart the Cosmos as card filtering. Eyes Gone Dark plus Chart the Cosmos, obviously able to help tee up some chart tokens for later use. Twilight Ambush and Cursory Glance, just really strong interactive pieces. Nether Invocation's a really good interactive piece as well. Can either just be 4 mana draw 2, or 4 mana draw a card, then shoot a thing and gain a bunch of life. And Casimirs have not gotten to see a ton of in practice, but I mean, creature, planeswalker, instant sorcery, artifact, land, it is feasible for this to get to the flip condition. And even if he doesn't flip, that is just going to draw you a card at the end of this at the end of the turn when you discard. And if you wind up with an empty hand somehow, he just draws you a card. -2 is really good. +1 is really good. And then He Who Shed His Death is terrifying to sit across from. So seems pretty good. Land base of 25, a lot of 25 landers in this tournament so far. 1 each of Karaz and Zymoth Observatory, 3 Chasm of the Silent Covenant, full playset of Enigmatic Fen, 1 Gilded Court, 4 Primal Fissure, 2 Temple of Origin, 4 Island, 3 Swamp, and 2 Archive Telemetry as the leveling land of choice. I think that makes sense given that it's juxtaposed by Chasm of the Silent Covenant. And it's cool to see this one getting played rather than everyone just kind of leaning on where are you? Heap Ludicon. Because obviously Heap Ludicon has put in work in its time in the format, but let's give some other leveling lands some spotlight. Seems sweet. Sideboard is 4 copies of Torpor Harvester. Strikes me as a control matchup card. 2 copies of Karaz Layspire, playset of Aspis Venifere as the small sweeper in the sideboard of choice. The additional 2 Nuile Exodus. The final Eyes Gone Dark is interesting. And 2 Crucible of the Burning Sun as the graveyard hate of choice. Up next is Truk on Landing the Fall. Oh, this is a Foes Unfed deck. Red-green Foes Unfed. So, we've got 3 copies of Aspiring Anarchist, 2 copies of Plucky Trainer. Interesting. 3 Huskforger Acolyte, playset of Ursus Minora, and playset of Blightstalker on 2. For 3, they've got playset of Estrathian Gentrifiers, playset of Fabricated Anomaly, and then 1 Zaya, 1 Competitive Hedonist. 2 Face of Animosity, and then a Terminal Impact and a Foes Unfed. I'm a little curious to know the rationale behind playsets of 2 of your 3 drops and then singleton copies of the other 2. Because what that establishes to me is your opponent can just give you Zaya Competitive Hedonist, and if they can just live through taking 6 and then, you know, clear these, especially against something like, you know, Ukius Crusaris, which can just kill Zaya or kill Competitive Hedonist and then offset the damage that the other one is going to deal in combat. Makes all of your future foes unfed really bad because you just find a Gentrifiers, find a Fabricated Anomaly, and the opponent goes, okay, cool, put those back in your deck. Yeah, that seems really unfortunate. Especially because I feel like while these are obviously the less immediate pressure cards to find, these are like these are also really annoying cards to let stick on the board. So I don't know. Like obviously, you can just do foes unfed, go find 2 drops, find Ursus Minora, find Blightstalker, find Plucky Trainer or Aspiring Anarchist. But I don't know. I feel like you really do want like slightly more like reasonable 3 drops. Like maybe 3 Gentrifiers, 2 Hedonists feels like it would be a safer call because Hedonist is a really good card. And comparatively, like Zaya is just a creature with haste. You've got foes unfed and terminal impact as your ways to really enable Zaya. And I don't know how much you're really going to be putting in work to get those higher cost triggers. Foes unfed can find 2 drops, although I think 1 Redeemer is justifiable here. 1 Redeemer. Yeah, I know that they can find 2 drops. I know that they can find 1 drops. I'm not sure if that's the most exciting thing to be doing with future foes unfed. Because, like, I guess you could just get away with having the 6 damage burst, but I don't know. I feel like it's sketchy. 24 lands here instead of the 25 we've been seeing, and good lord, we're going to be seeing more than 25 lands. 2 Ardent Rise, 4 Primal Fissure, 4 Urban Jungle, 4 Meandering Path, 4 Forest, 3 Mountain, 3 Temple of Origins. More Meandering Path than Temple of Origins is also surprising. Like, when your plays are, like, turn 3, turn 4 plays? Like, I guess with Meandering Path plus Aspiring Anarchist, like, you could play one of these 3 drops on turn 2. Redeemer of Hollowed Flesh. Yeah, I think Redeemer of Hollowed Flesh would also make sense here. Like, even if just in the sideboard. Hungry Blob, Stonework Titan. What's Stonework Titan doing here? Like, is picking up your Aspiring Anarchists or Plucky Trainers really that good? Like, I guess finding the Aspiring Anarchist is fine, but, like, what is Stonework Titan doing here? This is curious. 3 Crucible of the Burning Sun, 4 Advance of Fire and Faith. Much like I mentioned that Star Squall just made sense in Big Rakdos, Advance of Fire and Faith really makes sense in the more creature-bent deck. So it seems reasonable. And obviously, I'm expressing some concern around the foes unfed, but the reality is, of course, you can just reveal Astrathian Gentrifier's Fabricated Anomaly, 2-drop, 2-drop, and your opponent's just kind of pressed to give you the 2 drops because they don't want to get you this value. So yeah. I mean, yeah, it's pretty solid, pretty aggressive. Foes unfed has looked really scary. The biggest reason that I have had to consider to keep looking at green for my looter decks has honestly been, can I justify squeezing in foes unfed into looters in place of the previous plan, which was a little more inconsistent in foreign encounter. And while I think there is something to do with that, I have yet to figure it out. I think the 3-drop slot is really weak right now in some ways. Like, the existence of Fabricated Anomaly just makes so many other 3-drops look really, really weak by comparison. But yeah, so first foes unfed deck of the tournament. Platy is on the Whale, 26 lands to Bailanos Crescetus. Return target creature you don't control to its owner's hand. Instants are 4 Discern, 4 Twilight Ambush, 4 Seafloor Treasures, 4 Fateful Ascent, 4 Overrule Thought, 2 Destructive Ambition, 4 Unravel Thoughts. Sorceries are 3 Nightfall, 2 Scandalous Revelation, and 1 Knightstone rounds out the non-land spells. This is an Esper control deck. A lot of control this month. For all the talk about how aggro really rules month 1, this has been a lot of control and not a lot of aggro. Land base of 4 Primal Fissure, 4 Island, 1 Swamp, 1 Plains, 2 Chasm of the Silent Covenant, 4 Enigmatic Fen, 3 Lucent Basin, 3 Stark Expanse, 2 Murky Path, 1 Distant Path, and 1 Desolate Path. The split of slightly more blue-black duels compared to other duels, I think makes sense between Chasm of the Silent Covenant, Bailanos, like all of the 1-drops that are in blue. And also just the fact that white feels like much more of a splash color between it just being on the Fateful Ascents, the Scandalous Revelations, and the Kanai Stone. Sideboard is a full playset of Exorcist of Errors, and it looks like the rest of the sideboard is mostly Kanai Stone targets. 2 copies of High Senator Talpa, 2 copies of Eltanon the Silent Star, yeah, 2 copies of Eltanon the Silent Star, 1 additional Nightfall, 2 Waygate Bulwark, 2 Crucible of the Burning Sun, and 2 Primordial Gateway. Alrighty. Bulwark officially registered is pretty exciting. Not a card I anticipated seeing in month 1, but it's cool to see. Alrighty. Moving on to Epids.deck. This is the green-white Cosmic Rebirth Laystone deck that's been seeing some play. 3 copies of Melon, 4 copies of Sunsower, 2 copies of Aurelith the Sun Shard, a card I truly thought would absolutely do nothing, but has been proving me wrong. Full playset of Halo Tracer, card I wrote off and clearly deserved more credit than I gave it. 3 copies of Commander of the Vow, which honestly, I talked about how original Aloris was like, oh, this 3 mana, 3 1/1s for 3. That's reasonable. I have been down on Commander of the Vow, but that truly is just that with a little bit of a bonus. You know, more respect was owed to Commander of the Vow. The 2 copies of Aloris the Pathfinder, 4 copies of Syra Blade of Memory, and then 3 copies of Survivors of the New World, backed up by playset of Cosmic Rebirth, playset of Laystone of Being, and a playset of Honesty. Yeah, this deck looks spooky. That really nice combination of just pure life total padding alongside go wide frustration. Land base of 2 forest, a full playset of Fort Revelin, which is a little curious with only 2 forests and 4 primal fishers, but I guess you just get the forest off of primal fisher for the sake of Sunsower, and then that enables your Fort Revelins for turn 2 onward. So 2 forests, 3 plains, full playset of Fort Revelin, 4 Primal Fisher, 4 Temple of Origins, 4 Verdant Sanctum, 2 Thicketed Paths. Sideboard is 2 Masksmith, as just catch-all removal that is a creature, so can get back with Cosmic Rebirth. 1 copy of Plasma Strike, as just cheap removal, full playset of Fateful Ascent, full playset of Thorn and Trial, and full playset of Clash at Dawnbloom Grove. Notable that outside of the 5 removal spells here, everything here can be gotten back with a Cosmic Rebirth if removed one way or another, which is pretty nice. Not ways to discard discard any of these per se, and it's a little awkward that Clash and Masksmith overlap a little bit, but I think it's fine. Kind of a narrow sideboard, but I think the deck just covers enough bases in its primary function that it won't have to worry too much about having to structure its sideboard around winning hard matchups. I think it can just get away with this more generalized sideboard. Itai is going to make someone's life go to 0, and they'll be the one responsible. It's mono black aggro. Come on. Come on. There's the Mercenary of Dusk. All right, cool to see mono black aggro from Itai, and I'm not the cheapest amount of land. Yeah, it was just your deck lists list, Laurel. It's such a sweet deck. I'm really excited to see it in practice in the tournament, because I've missed out on getting to watch the GP matchups. Alrighty. So, 3 Rooftop Slink, 3 Ignited Soul, 3 Vardo's Scalpel. No 1/1 seems to be the most favored here, so splitting evenly across the 3 to a total of 9. 2 drops are Catabalist, Corpse Pyrofiend, Exorcist of Errors, Mercenary of Dusk, Nihilmonger, and Pressuring Ghoul. Goodness gracious. And that is going to be a 2 of for the Catabalist, the Corpse Pyrofiend, and the Pressuring Ghoul. 3 of Mercenary of Dusk and Nihilmonger, and then a full playset of course, Exorcist of Errors. Alongside a single copy of Urban Explorer, 3 each of Twilight Ambush and Sovereign's Execution, full playset of Bleed for the Cause, so that is, I guess, the 1-drop that they have the most faith in, because they expect to be losing a good amount of life to make this happen. And I mean, Sovereign's Execution does enable you to get back your bleed for the cause, if nothing else. Um, Anything else self-damage in the deck? Vardo's Scalpel, but that doesn't do it on its own unless you have 2 copies. I guess Vardo's Scalpel plus Bleed for the Cause does collectively enable the return clause on Bleed for the Cause. So that's nice. March of the Long Night as a 2 of, and 3 copies of Bind Life to Steal as a board refill. 19 lands, very low count, with 1 Heap Ludicon, full playset of Primal Fissures, and playset of Kara's Observatories, and then 10 Swamps. Yeah, pretty simple, pretty clean. 1 Moonlight Adversary in the sideboard is a little curious. 2 copies of Rostball of the Enduring Star, also interesting. 3 Duress, 2 Forced Shutdown, 2 Cult Populace, seems interesting. 3 copies of Golden Bloom of the Silenced, and 2 Koi Float is interesting. I wonder what the purpose of the Koi Float is here. Maybe just cut out the Bind Life to Steals? Like, if you're cutting the Bind Life to Steals, you're cutting the Urban Explorer, you have room for, like, 2 Koi Floats, 2 of, like, something else? That's interesting. Yeah. I tried messing around with mono black aggro a little bit. I haven't fully figured it out. I think there are some little awkward things where it's like Mercenary of Dusk, Nilemonger really do want you to be filling your graveyard, but the rest of the package does not really reward you for that. Like, I'm not sure how you're getting Catabalist online without either activating Corpse Pyre Fiend or Bleed for the Cause. Like, Urban Explorer is not going to be enough to justify Catabalist, because that is 3 mana plus 2. Bleed for the Cause, you need to hold 2 up and activate it on your end step to get back Catabalist. Corpse Pyre Fiend, I guess you could get back Catabalist for 3 mana? I don't know. But it does its job. Alrighty. The Abstrusities, or Laurels, Sisters of the New World, which looks a little familiar. In fact, I think this is a 1-to-1 of the list we just saw. Not a 1-to-1, down to 3. Syra, Blade of Memory. The 3rd copy of Eloris, and I think it's 3-4-2-4-3. 3-4-2-4-3, yeah. So swapping out a 4th Syra for the 3rd Eloris here on Laurel's build of the deck, but both versions of the deck looking to be on the 23 lands, the same exact split on lands. And it looks like 3 Masksmith, 4 Fateful Ascent, 3 Crucible, 3 Thorn and Trial, 2 Clash of Dawnbloom Grove. Skewing the sideboard slots a little bit more in favor of Masksmith. No Plasma Strike here. In favor of getting to run, it looks like Crucible is the other key thing in the sideboard here that's different. So going down 2 Clash at Dawnbloom Grove, 1 Thorn and Trial, and 1 Plasma Strike for the extra Masksmith and the 3 Crucibles. Pretty sweet. So that's our first double up. Is green-white life gain go wide, like mid-range, I feel is like a reasonably fair way to describe this. Is a very good go wide deck, very good at kind of just killing you if you can't deal with it. And then Honesty, Blaystone of Being, and Sunso are all really good at just putting a giant body into play all of a sudden. And then Syra, Honesty, also, sorry, not Honesty, really good at putting a giant body into play. It's Laystone of Being and Sunsor, they're really good at putting giant bodies into play. And then Honesty and Syra really benefiting from things like Commander of the Vow, Survivors in the New World. So yeah. H-Squid has been working on white-green colorless Rejuvenation Ziv. This is the familiar Rejuvenation Session strategy, but filtering in some colorless fixing for no Ziv Replisparked. What? Wait, what? Oh my god. No, I was got. 3232 Laystone avatar during my leak run. Yeah, I saw the screenshot. It's crazy. Also, I feel like a fool. Squid got me with the deck name. I saw hyping up Rejuvenation Session Ziv, and I'm like, I love that. That's so cool. Anyways, it's black red aristocrats with the venture capitalist package and 2 copies of the new Caersol Valiant as the additional 1-drop of choice, even over the 8th 1-mana make a treasure when it dies. 1/1 for 1 with Wither, and when it dies, it makes a chart token. Still on the full Omen Skulkers, still on 3 Newborn Oni, but not the full playset. The full playset of Venture Capitalist. We'll talk about the artifacts in a moment. Full playset of Smiling Sludges, and then 3 Fabricated Anomaly, 3 Envoy of the Fallen. So sort of a hybrid of these like anomaly shells alongside Envoy. These really do compete with each other though. Where Anomaly really wants your graveyard to be flush so it can devour everything, whereas Envoy really wants your graveyard to be flush so it can devour everything. Like, these both want to be pulling things out of your graveyard, and they don't want each other to pull things out of your graveyard. It's really awkward. Full playset of Deadly Dispute with the 9 1-drops makes sense. Bind Life to Steal makes sense with the good 1-drops. Yeah, Squid really got me. Full playset of Lightless Conquest. Whenever another enchantment you control enters, make a 1/1 elemental. Not going to be too many instances of these, between these being the only enchantments, but whenever an artifact you control enters, you may sacrifice a creature to make a 3/2 elemental. And with every single one of the 1-drops making an artifact when they die, with the Venture Capitalist finding an artifact, with Smiling Sludge making an artifact, with Fabricated Anomaly making an artifact, this is going to be able to turn a lot of things into 3/2 elementals in a pinch. Much more of a Lightless Conquest deck than it is a pure sack deck. Yeah, I can kind of see that. Very interesting. 2 copies of Gift of Inspiration, able to help benefit going a little bit wide with that sack fodder early on. And you can kind of put more sack fodder in play. Notably, puts an artifact creature in play, so you can turn that into a 3/2 with Lightless Conquest. And this is an enchantment to make a 1/1 off of Lightless Conquest. And you can just impulse draw the top card instead. Artifacts to find off of Venture Capitalist include Stella's Journal, which is a 0-drop in a pinch, or not 0-drop, but 0-mana card in a pinch for your Venture Capitalists to go find and trigger Lightless Conquest immediately. 1 copy of Welding Rig to, I guess, make something protected from removal. 1 copy of Golden Bloom of the Silenced, just makes sense. And then 1 Waypoint Armillary to make some additional fodder when it enters and is sacrificed. Lightless Conquest is great, but it gets run over so incredibly hard by Looming Psyhawk. It really does, but we're just about halfway in, I think, and we have not seen a Psyhawk yet, so you never know. Also available for that Venture Capitalist is 2 copies of Warpway Rings, backed up by 3 Primal Fissure to go get 3 of either of these 2 basics. Full playset of Hollowed Chamber, 2 Enigmatic Fen, and full playset of Sanguine Palace round out the mana base here. Envoy of the Fallen only really castable off of these Enigmatic Fens or the treasures from Hollowed Chamber, the 1-drops, or Deadly Dispute. But, you know, it can also be cast off of Venture Capitalist in a pinch, I guess. You know, a lot of these make, you know, disposable trinket tokens. Caersol Valiant makes a token you could just sacrifice to Venture Capitalists, so, you know, that works. Smiling Sludge token, safe to sacrifice as well. Sideboard is 3 Godslaughter Titan. Not really sure what this is doing in the sideboard, but I guess I can kind of see the theory here. Don't worry, Crush has 4 in the main deck. I'm sure I'm going to have to fight him about it. I looked a lot at, like, how could I get away with playing a white-based Foes Unfed deck to get away with, like, hi, I have a full playset of Looming Psyhawks. I would like to put Looming Psyhawk in my pile. If this doesn't matter to you, I don't mind. It's a 2/1 flyer with lifelink. If this does matter to you, then you have just made my Foes Unfed piles so much better. But yeah, 3 Godslaughter Titan, I can kind of see the theory on. 2 Absentia and 3 Duress, splitting up the the hand attack spells. Additional 2 copies of Bind Life to Steel, 3 copies of Aushun's Presence is fun, and then the additional 2 copies of Golden Bloom of the Silence to improve consistency on that when needed. Cat and Tree is on Naya Weftheart. Specifically, Naya Weftheart Monument, the hot new deck that has been innovated upon as of the most recent season because of how good, let me see if I can find it, Creation Mythos is at finding and helping you cast a cheap Revolutionary's Monument. So this is a Naya Weftheart deck. You did that? It's a cool deck? Yeah, I think I remember seeing something about, like, Naya Foes Unfed or, like, White-Green Foes Unfed. A lot of like, decks with, like, a bunch of 3-drops and only 1 Foes Unfed deck so far. Anyways, Monument to the Weftheart, full playset of Male Daemon, but that is not the cheapest enchantment, just the cheapest and only other creature besides the 2 Revolutionaries Monument. So ideally, you can flip... Male Daemon into something else with Weftheart. So this can be 2 mana, just solid chump blocker, and then when you get to Weftheart, you can sacrifice this for a 3-drop as well as draw a card. Enchantments include Laystone of Being, Magma Flow, and Planned Obsolescence at 1, Sanctum of Repression at 2, alongside the Male Daemons, Majesty, Crumbling, 2 copies of Majesty, 1 Crumbling Tower, full playset of Orbital Vacuum at 3, and then Creation Mythos and Panic as playsets at 4, and then Heavenly Descent at the top end at 5. Using Revolutionary's Monument to flip some of these cheaper enchantments into some of the bigger ones as well. I feel like this is pretty all in. Like, this does not look like the most insane Weftheart package. None of these 3-drops really seem like things you really want to pop to Weftheart, but the 4-drops seem so critical to the plan that I'm not really sure what the game plan is, per se. I guess Creation Mythos has dwindling returns after you've done your first monument, so it is reasonable to kind of pitch away, but again, you need to get into that from a 3-drop with Weftheart, and that's really awkward. You really don't want to give something back off of Orbital Vacuum. I guess if you Orbital Vacuum something and then cast Weftheart, you have to decide whether you want to give them back the thing or cash in the Orbital Vacuum. Yeah, that's really awkward. 24 lands across full playsets of Torrid Path, Primal Fissure, Windbeaten Stones, and Verdant Sanctum, as well as 3 copies of Urban Jungle, 2 Plains, 2 Mountains, and 1 Forest. Sideboard is full playset of Shigani Manor Burns, which surprises me to not see it in the main as just a way to get to Weftheart on turn 3, but I guess I can kind of see why you're just kind of leaning in on the more removal-focused main deck. 1 Perils of Eternity as a Weftheart target, as is true of the 2nd Heavenly Descent and the 1 Imperial Production. Full playset of Crucible of the Burning Sun, 2 copies of Golden Bloom of the Silenced, 2 copies of Astral Displacer. A little bit of hater energy. Moving on, we've got Provocative on a Naya Foes Unfed. So this is going to be 4 Huskforger Acolyte, 1 Blightstalker, 3 Concurrent Escapist, 2 Redeemer of Hollowed Flesh, 2 Fabricated Anomaly, 2 Ironback Tyke, 2 Rosenclad and Guilt, a Singleton Competitive Hedonist, and 3 copies of Penwrath Dispatcher to back up the full playset of Foes Unfed, and then 3 Foreign Encounter, which seems like a real gamble with only 17 hits. Because I have definitely come close to whiffing on Foreign Encounter with a lot more hits before. I guess just the high roll potential of having this spin into like a Rosen or an Ironback Tyke or a Redeemer. Like any of the 3-drops are really good to spin into at least. Full playset of Terminal Impact backing up at the Foes Unfed. There's also a playset of Sanctum of Repression, and then 2 copies of Revolt at the Palace. Also really struggling to hit. There's only 21 hits for Revolt at the Palace, but between Foreign Encounter looking at 6 cards and then Revolt looking at 6 cards several times, I think you can kind of get away with it. Mana base is 2 Forests, 1 Plains, 1 Mountain. Full playset of Primal Fissure, 2 of each of the paths, and then full playsets of the green Shocks and 1 copy of Wind-Beaten Stone. So really key on getting the Husk Forger in play on turn 1. Sideboard is bunch of removal, full playset of Fateful Ascent, 3 copies of Deafening Clarion. There's also some draw value in Crumbling Tower. 2 more copies of Revolt of the Palace if needed, and then a full playset of Faces of the Faceless as the graveyard hate of choice. This does stop Fabricated Anomaly, which is relevant compared to a good chunk of the other graveyard hate tools. So, yeah. Magma Dragon is up next on Solar Seas. It looks like this is Esper? Esper Weather? Magma's back on Weather. Cheers. So we got playset of Exorcist of Errors and Skyray Tender on the 2-drop slot. Tender is going to be pretty good at swinging in. Full playset of Stratus Fledgling and Gloomy Meteorologist as the 3-mana acclimators of the deck. And a playset of Frog of Eternal Gloom as well. There's a lot of like interesting mana restrictions. Double white, double blue, 2 and a black, 1 and a black. Weather Elemental is really lean in comparison. Full generic casting cost. Doubles the triggers of your weathers. Instants are 4 copies of Twilight Ambush, 4 Destructive Ambition, and then 3 Discerns, and then 2 Grasp of Oblivion as the other. Oh wow, how did I miss this? This is a really good enchantment. I can't believe I missed Grasp of Oblivion in my set review. Solid. 25 lands again. 3 Primal Fisher, full playset of Tyrrell District. I guess that gets around the double black, the double white and double blue. Full playset of Stark Expanse and Lucent Basin, 2 Enigmatic Fens, full playset of Gilded Courts, 2 Plains, 1 Island, 1 Swamp. Interesting. The weathers, which are probably the most important thing to talk about here, are 1 copy of Seabreeze and 1 copy of Rain Dance, and 2 copies of Primordial Seas. So this does the natural weathers Swablu Seas deck thing of you get Stratus Fledgling, get Rain Dance, play Rain Dance the following turn, copy your Stratus Fledgling, get a Primordial Seas. And then when you get to your following turn, you swing in with Stratus Fledgling again. You can swing in with it, get a copy of it with the Rain Dance. Your weathers cost 2 less, so this would cost 5. You get Primordial Seas number 2. You get Seabreeze number 2, I think. You copy land with Primordial Seas. Use Seabreeze to like cast it, like pick up a thing, and then trigger Primordial Seas, like get another copy of your Acclimator, I guess. It's just funky things, but like once you get 2 Primordial Seas in play, you just copy all of your Primordial Seas infinitely. And then just kind of go crazy. Husk Forger Answer in blue! Yeah, Grasp of Oblivion's really good. I can't believe I missed this. This would have made the set review for sure. Yeah, this is the Husk Forger Answer I was looking for in blue. This card is sweet. Turns off a lot of things. Very relevant. Awful against Fabricated Anomaly, but you can't win it all. But yeah. I love Swablu Seas. I have so much respect for Magma for coming up with Swablu Seas. And it's cool to see it in the tournament once again. That 4-card weather package is backed up by 11 other sideboard cards, 2 Advance of Rune Whisper as some more board interaction, 3 copies of Failed Gateway as a little small sweeper, 2 Negate, 2 Dormant Monstrosity, seemingly for anti-control, 2 Karaz Martyr, I think also anti-control. It at least appears that way. I'm curious to know the notion behind Skyray Tender. Perhaps it's just a matter of, Seabreeze, Rain Dance really good with something, really good with like getting to make copies of the Skyray Tender, and then you don't really care that this might die in combat because you just get the 2/1s with flying. It's like really good pressure. Interesting. Next is Galician Cheese's Survivors of the New Rotation. This is a green-white What the heck? What is getting cooked here? Oh, it's a Sire of Greatness pod deck. I see. Alrighty. So, full playset of Huskforger Acolyte, 2 Oblivion's Escort. At the 2-drop slot, there's a single Purifier of Dawnbloom Grove, 3 copies of Skyray Tender. On 3 mana, there's playset of Aloris the Pathfinder and 2 Containment Seraph. At 4, there's full playsets of Sire of Greatness and Survivors of the New World, and a single copy of Gorian Layspire. 2 copies of Dawnhymn Herald and Paragon of Sacred Bellows round out the curve at 5. Alongside full 8 removal spells between 4 Fateful Ascent and 4 Sanctum of Repression. Yeah, this is pretty sweet. Oblivion's Escort, both good protection spell and also good to pod away into one of these 2-drops. Skyray Tender, Purifier, both reasonable. Aloris, really good in multiples. Not only is this good at helping get Sire of Greatness discounted with Syzygy, but also, you know, you sacrifice it to Sire of Greatness activation, make the green spirit token, and go find a 4-drop, go find a Survivors of the New World, which is going to give the Aloris token +3/+3. That's pretty cool. Second Survivors pun in deck lists. Yeah. Simple mana base here. 4 Verdant Sanctum, 4 Primal Fissure, 4 Thicketed Path, 7 Forest, 5 Plains. Can't blame ya. Sideboard is the 3rd Oblivion's Escort. 2 copies of Melan, Defense Attorney. 2 copies of Purifier of the Dawnbloom Grove to go with the one in main. 2 Virtualized Onomastic. 1 more Containment Seraph. 2 Helio Layspire. Seems really reasonable with a pod deck. 1 Hungry Blob. 1 more Gorian Layspire. 1 more Dawnhymn Herald. And 2 Plaguebane Hulk. Ooh, this is sweet. I was really excited to see what Sire of Greatness could do, so it's really cool to see it here. One of those cards that I really want to brew around a little bit more, see if I can't crack this in half. Because I feel like, especially given we have the black and red 1-drops that make treasures when they die, being able to use Sire of Greatness to flip one of those into a 2-drop, like, say, flip those into a Devoted Lackeys while making the treasure, and then you turn around and turn the Devoted Lackeys into a pair of 3-drops with Sire of Greatness. Is that better than Foes Unfed? Probably not, but it's a bunch of sacrifice, and I love me some sacrifice. I love me some sacrifice when it's not Envoy of the Fallen. Again, complicated feelings. I do like Envoy of the Fallen. Tremors on Stolen Majesty. This is another Weftheart deck, another Naya Weftheart. Full playset of Shigani Manor Burns in the main in place of the Male Daemon, which have now taken place in the sideboard. Looks like similar setup to the previous deck otherwise. 2 Revolt of the Palace in the main alongside the Heavenly Descent at 4. Revolt of the Palace has Orbital Vacuum up as hits, and that's it. So 4, 5, 6, 7. Plus 8 is 15, plus 4 is 19. So, like, approximately 1 in 3 for any given card to be a Revolt of the Palace hit. It's not awful. I love it when it's a little more consistent, but I can kind of see it. And, you know, these are pretty good things to hit off of Revolt of the Palace. Sanctum of Repression, Shigani Manor Burns, Majesty, Crumbling Tower, Orbital Vacuum, Planned Obsolescence, Magma Flow, all reasonable Revolt of the Palace hits. Revolutionary's Monument with Creation Mythos is, of course, really good. Weftheart is, of course, really good with all of these interactive enchantments and value enchantments. Majesty, of course, really good with all of these 4 mana cards. And then 24 lands, pretty simple. The Male Daemons in the sideboard, the 1 Perils of Eternity, the 1 Heavenly Descent, the 1 Imperial Production, and then, 4 Crucible, 2 Golden Bloom, 2 Astral Displacer. Very similar to the other Weftheart deck, but swapping Male Daemon and Shigani Manor Burns seems like the big thing here. And then the 2 Revolt of the Palace seems to be some experimentation as well. Because I was like, right, like that wasn't something that Cat and Tree was on. Yeah, no Revolt of the Palace. What was... It was Laystone of Being is not present in Tremor's version of the build. Interesting. Up next, we have Catalyst, who is looking at me playing Dark Sun Migrant in black-red and said, who needs the second color? Migrant, Emblazoned Prophet, Savvy Smith, Fabricated Anomaly. Go crazy. 20 mountains, 4 of each of these creatures. Full playsets of Face of Animosity, Doctrine of Sacrifice, Bleeding Out, and 2 copies of Bleeding Out and full playset of High Voltage. There's also Terminal Impact and Hone Claws as playsets, and then 2 copies of Instill Absolution. No real way to fling things per se, so can't really get tons of value out of Instill Absolution, but could be pretty sweet. Not terrible targets for Doctrine of Absolution either. They're not amazing, but, you know, just getting the body back seems reasonable in a pinch. Yeah, pretty clean-cut aggro deck. Sideboard is 4 copies of Shock, 2 copies of Frag, 2 Fall Upon Your Blade, full playset of Crucible of the Burning Sun, and then 3 Vance of Fire and Faith. All makes sense. Cheers. All Who Wander is also on Nightfall Control. This is another blue-black control deck. You got 3 Kara's Martyr, full playset of Mist Archivist, and 2 Nuile Exodus. This is very much the kind of deck we saw All Who Wander promo with earlier in the week. 3 copies of Discern, 2 Twilight Ambush, 3 Deft Deflection, 3 Destructive Ambition. Seems like decision has been made on which of these 2-mana counterspells was a little extraneous. And the 2 copies of that one has been cut for just more Deft Deflections and Ambitions. 2 copies of Hang, 3 Sovereign's Execution, 1 Seafloor Treasures, full playset of Unravel Thoughts, and 3 Nether Invocation, and 4 Nightfall as the toppers of the base curve. Only thing above 4 mana to really do is hardcast Nuile Exodus. So despite this being a control deck, very low curve in terms of the spells that they're trying to cast. 23 lands, less than a lot of the decks we've been talking about today. 2 Swamp, 4 Island, full playset of Chasm of the Silent Covenant, playsets of Enigmatic Fen, Primal Fisher, and Temple of Origins, and then 1 Lost and Found. Has a bit of utility card selection and mana fixing in a pinch. Sideboard is 2 Solace Syndicate Pariah, 2 Twilight Ambush, 1 Destructive Ambition, 2 Forbidden Treasure is interesting, 3 copies of Invasion's End, 3 Primordial Gateway, and 2 copies of Golden Bloom of the Silenced. Yeah, this looks pretty good. I was really taken aback by seeing Kara's Martyr in deck lists the other night, but after seeing it explained, I really do understand why it is in this shell. Does seem really good. Raboka is my opponent. I had to say something about dodging the green decks for so long. I'm up against quote-unquote mono green. It's literally mono green plus Crumbling Tower and Terminal Impact. Cool. So Ursus Minora as a playset, 3 copies of Aurora Buffer Exec, 1 Rune Rock Automaton is interesting. 2 Plaguebane Hulk, 3 Lagaroth Centuries Apex, and 3 Rex Tyrannos. Full playset of Anhime Star Sower to try and get some ramp there, alongside Journey Begins as some reasonable card selection, can find permanent mana value 3 or less. It's going to miss most of these creatures, but is going to find Ursus Minora, is going to find Anhime, is going to find the Crumbling Towers in advance of the Empty Thrones. 2 copies of Rejuvenation Session with a bunch of 5-drops seems like decently reasonable. 2 Shining Hopes, draw a bunch of cards equal to greatest power among creatures, discard that many cards in next end step. Could draw a ton of cards with Vigoroth or Rex Tyrannos, but I'm not quite sure to what end. You lost to this deck in League today. Anhime is like ludicrously dangerous. I have been underestimating this card, so it'll be really interesting to see how it actually fares in practice, because I have not been impressed by this card in like the logical processing, but I guess we'll see. It's a very green deck, like only finding red off of the Primal Fissures, getting the mountains. Otherwise, it's Buffery Conservatories, Burdening Nebulas, Forests. Sideboard is 3 Gorian Leyspire, 1 Plaguebane Hulk to go with the 2 in main. Full playset of refusal of the Hollow Gift. Really does not want to be targeted by removal or burn. 2 copies of Realm Weft Implosion. 3 copies of Alwinar's Mark as just some good fight or anti-flying. And 2 copies of Ring of Promised Vows. Very glad I am no longer on Devotee because this just kills every... just kills everything. Anhime is awesome. If you can't go bigger than 12/12 and wider than 15 tokens, you just get rolled over as a creature deck. Can't go bigger than 12/12 and wider than 15 tokens. What? I guess, yeah, if they get to go like Anhime Aurora, nobody does anything about it, and they get a ton of lands off of Aurora, but what? And even then, like, they have to downtick Anhime to make that happen. Then they have to downtick Anhime again for Aurora to really pop off. But how are they getting to go downtick Anhime twice without losing Anhime? I guess, like, if they really want to lose Anhime and then go for Aurora, but they would need to go down -3 Anhime, play a tapped Primal Fisher, goes back up to 2. Next turn, crack Primal Fisher. Okay, so you can keep Anhime around. Crack Primal Fisher, go up to 3. Play land for turn. Anhime trigger. Now at 4. And, like, Burgeoning Nebula makes it easier to have lands to play off of Anhime, but not great if you need to be doing the Primal Fisher line. The downtick is usually like a 0 or a +1 in practice. I don't know. It makes so many blockers. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold on it still. I can kind of see the theory. I don't know if I necessarily see the practice here, but I guess we're going to find out in practice just how many blockers it can make. It's going to really have to do a lot of work putting in blockers because it is my round 1 matchup, and I am noticing a startling lack of early creatures to deal with my early aggression. So Anhime really is going to have to pull in some work on making those blockers, I guess. I'll take your word for it that it makes a bunch of blockers. Both of you seem to be in agreement, Laurel and Magma, but I don't know. I'm going to have to see it to believe it, I think. Unbelievably fun deck. Regardless, have fun. All right. I'm not sure how much I necessarily believe what I'm hearing, but we'll see if it ends up being the case. After all, seeing is believing. Lagaroth is just really baffling. 6 or more instant or sorcery cards. 11 potential things to even count for that. Shining Hope is so weird, too. What is happening here? It's weird. Rune Rock Automaton. A lot of interesting choices. All right. Yeah, we'll see how this plays out. I see, like, some components here that are very clearly going to be very scary. Terminal Impact, always really strong, especially in a ramp shell like this. Ursus Minora will just kind of get to run away with the game if I can't deal with a 3/2 getting, like, +3/+3 and trample every turn. But I don't know. Again, like, I'm not 100% sure I see what the full... Oh, Advance of the Empty Throne, I guess, also does kind of do the work. Make a bunch of more 1/1s when landfall happens. Yeah, that can help spiral the board out of control. That's a little scary. All right. Okay. I'm hearing it. Nyx is on Mono Black Villainy. Uh-oh. Unmaker of Thought. So just going to kind of try and hand attack the opponent if they have 2 or more cards in their hand. Transcendent Council. Make them sacrifice something to tap Transcendent Council on combat. Inner Ring's Pupil, Rostabal the Endless Enduring Star on 2 each. Instants are 2 Twilight Ambush, 4 copies of Die As Thou Wilt as the Edict of Choice. Very interesting. 3 copies of Damn to Hell, 4 Duress, 4 Night's Whisper, 4 Past Unresolved, 4 Nightfall. I don't know what to make of the fact that this is like Unmaker of Thought, Inner Ring's Pupil, Rostaball. That's not enough to want. Like that's not enough and attack to justify Manifest not gaining you life over, I guess, just the stability of 2 mana, draw 2, always being 2 mana with Night's Whisper, and past unresolved. But like 8 copies of this effect? Huh. Yeah, I mean, like, this is going to be stable. Like, you're always going to have access to more cards. And Unmaker of Thought, being able to chant onto these is going to be really nice. On any of these. This is going to be double hand attack. Is going to be really solid. I've not been super impressed by the chant cards, but this is a chance for Unmaker of Thought to prove its place. 23 lands, 19 swamp, 4 Karaz Observatory, leveling lands out of here. Sideboard of 2 Karaz Leyspire, 2 more Twilight Ambush, the 4th Damned to Hell, 2 Go Blank, 2 Data Wipe, so splitting their Go Blanks across 2 different versions of the effect, I guess. Full playset of Crucible of the Burning Sun, and 2 Golden Bloom of the Silenced. Yeah. Mono black. Crush Castles, green-white stands for Go Wide. Milan, playsets of Milan, Resolute Reinforcements, Faithline Marshal, Looming Psyhawk, Commander of the Vow. In playset of Fateful Ascent, 3 copies of Complementarity, playset of The Ruins Awaken, 3 copies of Magical Leaves, is very fun, and then a playset of Honesty. So really trying to max out on Honesty value here. Just trigger it twice a turn, as many turns as you can. Resolute Reinforcements does it. Faithline Marshal often is going to be doing it like consistently. Commander of the Vow is going to do it pretty much always. Complementarity is going to put a lot of things in play all at once to get a ton of value off of Honesty. Magical Leaves can do it. Ruins Awaken can do it. Yeah. 4 Primal Fissure, 4 Thicketed Path, 4 Temple of Origins, and then 5 Forest, 5 Plains. Seems simple enough. Alrighty. Bunch of 3-drops in the sideboard. 3 new, Route Navigator I really love. One of the things that I spent a lot of time looking at when I was looking at 3-drops or looking at decks was like, if I can find myself in white, Route Navigator really punishes foes on fed decks. And it's a nice coincidence that those kinds of shells are things like what Prav is doing with Penwrath Dispatcher as well, where Route Navigator just really punishes those effects. To just completely shut off foes unfed is nice. 3 copies of Plasma Strike, 3 copies of Renounce the Worldly as artifact and enchantment removal. 3 Constrict is interesting. And 3 Lunate Charm. Give your permanents hexproof, exile a thing with power 4 or greater, or tuck someone's graveyard to the bottom of their library. Interesting. And it looks like at the end of this, Ricky's on Black-Red Reanimator. Kind of just adapting to where the format has gone, adapting to the hole that has been left behind in... oh, come on. I can do words. Ricky is adapting to the loss of Awakening in Oldun, specifically adapting to the loss of Red Rough Rider. Audacious Rough Rider, really core for the old version of Black Red. Looks like this is specifically the list that Kumrock provided. Let's see if I can pull that up real quick to compare to. Just because I'm curious to see what changes, if any, were made. Trying to find it. Apologies for the sudden silence. I'm just trying to find the screenshot. There we go. So, No extra severe, so definitely is changed from what Kumrock presented, but 4 Ignited Soul in the main is mutual across both. Same with the Rooftop Slinks. Fabricated Anomaly as a 3 of instead of the 4 of that Kumrock came up with. So went down on a Fabricated Anomaly, went up 3 Threadrippers. I do like that. I think Threadripper is a bit underplayed right now. It is a really simple, clean removal spell, and like not a terrible thing to be reanimating. Obviously not as explosive as Privilege Escalation, but pretty respectable. 1 Nuile Exodus as some more removal, and then 3 Privilege Escalation seems pretty reasonable. 3 Fester Defluvium. I mean, yeah, Ricky has had some real good luck with Fester Defluvium. Full playset of Terminal Impact seems reasonable. 2 Coordinated Shot, especially good with all of the cheaper creatures. And then playset of Reclaim the Fallen, no longer just on 3, now that we've lost out on Uldun. No real reason to not have the 4th. Actually, wasn't the deck always on 4 Reclaim the Fallen? No, they were on 3 Reclaim for Privilege Escalation. And then they were on the 4th reanimation spell was the Uldun 4 mana, sacrifice 3 creatures to get back 3 things. And then a playset of Shigane Mana Burns, because, I mean, it does the ramp, it does the getting you to discard a thing. It does the things you need it to do. Mana base is 1 Heap Ludicon, full playsets of Sanguine Palace and Temple of Origins, 7 Mountains, 8 Swamps, and 1 Primal Fissure. Only 1 Primal Fissure is interesting. Though I know Ricky is big on just playing a bunch of basics, so seems like it'll be the usual for the mana base here. Sideboard is 4 copies of Exorcist of Errors. Pretty familiar sideboard juke from these kinds of Reanimator shells from Ricky now. Exorcist of Errors, 3 Inner Rings Pupil, just gets to come in over the Reclaim the Fallens and the Privilege Escalations pretty cleanly. There's also 3 Competitive Hedonist for when you need to pick up the pace a little bit. 1 copy of Life Hacker for some, like, just grindy value. 1 copy of Creation's Combustion as just a hard removal spell, it seems. And then 3 copies of Crucible the Burning Sun as Graveyard Hate of Choice. Alrighty. Yeah, I mean, I think it'll get to do the Reanimator things. Ignited Soul, Rooftop Slink, Anomaly, Shigane Mana Burns, all really good at helping you to set up the Reanimator thing. And even if you're not getting that Privilege Escalation, again, you know, Threadripper's a very reasonable reanimation target. It's not terrible to just, like, discard your 1 Nuile Exodus and then reanimate this. This does just ruin your opponent if it ever gets to attack. Seems solid. Alrighty, this went by a lot faster than it usually does. It's only been an hour and a half since Decklists went live. So let's, I guess, talk about matchups before I vanish. Should I? I am very tired. Let's talk about matchups. Let's talk about matchups real quick before I vanish. We got Kumrock against Tremor, so that's going to be the Golgari mid-range deck, black-green mid-range versus Naya Weftart. I don't know how this one's gonna go. I've yet to see the Weftart deck in action, but I know it is capable of some nonsense. I feel like I'm inclined to give the edge to Kumrock. I feel like Kumrock has just really shown an affinity for this strategy in just like the broader sense. And so even as the deck shifts and changes to different fields, Kumrock is going to have that familiarity, give them a bit of an edge against matchups. Me against Raboka, I don't know. Obviously, I have a different perspective from folks in chat. I don't know how I feel about this matchup. I don't know how I feel about this deck as a whole, because I am underrating Anhime from the sound of things. But I don't know. I'll really have to see how this match goes. Laurel versus Ivy. So that's going to be the Cosmic Rebirth Survivors green-white life gain tokens deck versus blue-black Casimir's Control. Nightfall is pretty good at clearing token boards, but not good at killing giant, like, 30 power things. And this is not the kind of deck that is going to punch through a bunch of uh, a bunch of life really quickly. But I do think He Who Shed His Death, if it ever flips, is going to cause a ton of problems. You didn't present early threats in League and suffered for that. Your match against Rebecca is good. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I feel like there's just so much going on Rebecca's deck that is rather top heavy. Like obviously, Path of Primacy is a 1-drop. Journey Begins is a 1-drop. Terminal Impact can kill some of my creatures early on. Rejuvenation Session buys them a ton of time. Advance to the Empty Throne, if they can defeat it, does some work. But I don't think they're very good at defeating their battle here. They've really only got Terminal Impact for that. And if they're spending Terminal Impact clearing Advance, they're not killing my things. Yeah, I don't know. I could see the token spam between Onhime and Advance overwhelming me, but I am not super convinced that that's going to have enough time to overwhelm me. I think I am just going to be able to go, like turn 1 Calamity Cat, turn 2 Mercenary of Dusk, discard a card, make Mercenary a 4/3. Or like turn 1 Dark Sun Migrant, turn 2 swing with it, Face of Animosity, make it a 4-power double striker. While also, teeing up maybe a like 1-drop off of the impulse draw trigger. Yeah, Ivy versus Laurel. I think this is skewing Laurel if I had to predict. I think Ivy is going to really struggle to stabilize the board, but I think the build that Laurel is on here is really good at recovering from a stabilized board and kind of just reapplying pressure. Halo Tracer is good card good card advantage. Survivors is great card advantage. Syra draws you cards. Aloris recovers you from a board wipe. Oraleth can be an army in a can. Sunsower can just be 5 mana, make a giant thing when your opponent's not pressuring you. Cosmic Rebirth gets any of the things that aren't survivors back into play. Laystone of Being can obviously just suddenly make a giant thing. Honesty can help you turn any of these, like Commander of the Vow, Survivors in the New World, into a giant board out of nowhere. So I don't know. I think the thing that's really going to help Laurel here is that Laystone of Being, Honesty are really hard for Ivy to deal with. As in, like, I don't think there's anything Ivy has that can deal with enchantments or artifacts. So it has to be like, the one of Atomic Core is perhaps the answer. And that might also just be the answer to the tokens. I think Atomic Core might actually really matter. We'll see. It's going to be a cool matchup. I might have to try and make a point of tuning into that one. Scribble versus Truk. So that's going to be Big Rakdos versus the red-green Foes Unfed deck. Obviously, I think Truk's going to be the beatdown here. Scribble has a good amount of removal. So Scribble is, I think, going to be able to try and fight to stabilize. How much do they have to try and kill, or not even kill, just damage Pact Beyond Death? Because if you can get this to just like 4 defense, this does just start making it really annoying to try and kill you. I guess Draconos Tyrannos, Pact Beyond Death into Draconos Tyrannos does get this down to 2 defense. You've got the Terminal Impacts can punch it. Kefella can punch it. Yeah. You can swing at it with your Nightfall tokens in a pinch. All right. I'm seeing it. Yeah, I think Truk is going to have to really come out the gate swinging. Plucky Trainer, Aspiring Anarchist starts could be really lethal, though. Like, Anarchist, Plucky Trainer early, and then just getting to go like Primal Fisher, crack Primal Fisher, get another land, Plucky Trainer triggers, it's a 4-power creature, swing with both, Face of Animosity, the Plucky Trainer, it's up to 7 power, Anarchist copies that, 14 damage. That's a lot off of a fetch land and a Face of Animosity. but I think Scribble's deck is built such that they will be able to deal with it pretty comfortably. So we'll see. Magma versus Provocative. Prov obviously on the Naya Foes Unfed Revolt of the Palace list. Magma on Solar Seas. I love Prov. I'm always gonna root for Swablu Seas. I may hate golems, and I hate that last April I chose to play golems in the plane chase tournament. But there was a silver lining in that plane chase tournament, which is that I played weather golems. I played Swablu Seas golems, and oh my god, I am sold on Stratus Fledgling as just being such a cool little package. And if I could bring myself to keep grinding Swablu Seas, I probably would join Magma in just fully theory crafting, like what's the best weather builds, what's the best ways to pay off Stratus Fledgling. So full salute to Magma for continuing on the grind with Swablu at long last. And I look forward to seeing how well this fares. So sorry, Prov. I think Prov might be slightly favored just because this is Prov's whole deal. This is right up Prov's alley. This is their comfort zone. This is also Magma's comfort zone, and I could totally see Magma just running away with something nonsense with Primordial Seas. All Who Wander versus Catalyst. I mean, it's gonna be tough. Blue-black control versus mono-red. Just the battle of the ages. Catalyst obviously looking to just kind of burn down All Who Wander really early, but 24 instants, and then of the creatures, that's another 2 instants with the removal spells. Karaz Martyrs and Mr. Archivist's really good at holding down the board. Nightfall is the only sorcery that's not a creature, and can still be a creature on the board or can be a board wipe. I think this is going to be tough for Catalyst. I think this is going to be one of the kind of control decks that's better against the like aggro shells, but you know, Terminal Impact can push damage, Bleeding Out can push damage, High Voltage can push damage to face. And all you need is just a couple attacks with Emblazoned Prophet or Dark Sun Migrant, and that is going to be a ton of damage to the opponent. And it's still Absolution, making it so anything other than these Nightfalls, killing one of the creatures, is going to come with a major source of pain attached to it. So, we'll see. Galician Cheeses, Survivors in the New Rotation, up against Platy People on The Whale. So blue-black control versus green-white Survivors. I'm not sure. I think this list from Platy is really cool. Sorry, Esper control, not blue-black control. They already played Catalyst went 0-2. I think that tracks. I did say I think that it's going to be a really uphill battle for Catalyst. I think this deck is going to be one of the ones that's built to beat the aggro decks, and sure enough. Let me see if I can hit refresh here. Okay, that's the only match that's been played. All Who Wander winning that match 2-0. I think I've got to give the edge to Platy here. I love Survivors, and Survivors is really good at bullying control, I think. But I don't know. I think I could see Survivors actually punching through the control deck. You know, Destructive Ambition doesn't catch it. I actually don't know. I think there could be enough punch behind Survivors of the New World to really justify it, because this is not a deck that kills quickly. Or sorry, no, not the green-white deck. The Esper deck is not a deck that kills quickly. Scandalous Revelation obviously deals with boards really well. Nightfall deals with boards really well. I am not too keen on Belianos Cressetus. I truly do not see why the consideration is to run this over running Advance of Rune and Whisper. So I guess we'll have to see. We'll have to see what the notion is here. I guess it's just we'll get to 8 mana eventually. And then this does more than Advance of Rune and Whisper when you get to 8 mana. but we'll see if Cheese even lets All Who Wander live that long. Paragon of Sacred Bellows, found off of Sire of Greatness. It's very scary. Itai versus Ricky. Mono Black Aggro versus Black Red Reanimator. I have no idea. It's almost a mistake for Platy to not be on it. Oh, Nether Invocation is a genuinely unhinged card. Mistake for Platy to not be on it. Really, any slower blue-black deck. Yeah, Nether Invocation is so good. Happy to see Scribble running. Oh, wait, no. Scribble was on the black-red. Who else was on the blue-black? Was it? It was All Who Wander. Yeah. 3 Nether Invocation. Yep. This card is sweet. I'm so glad to see it doing well. This is like when 4 mana removal is just good, and it's not like this is going to overwhelm the format. It's just solid removal. Thumbs up from me. It's solid removal that does something when you don't need it to be removal. And the something that it does when it's not removal isn't delete your opponent's hand. Thumbs up for me. You caught some of the match, just referring to the All Who Wander game. It single-handedly won. Yeah, life gain in the match, in the mono-red matchup. That sounds about right. I'm not looking forward to facing that. Itai versus Ricky, I think I want to give this to Itai, just because Ricky's not really on a ton of removal to really deal with Itai's aggressive curve. But I do think that, like, Ricky could just stumble into an early privilege escalation and then Itai just ceases to exist. So, I don't know. I think it skews towards Itai, but I think Ricky could absolutely just variance Itai out of existence. Lee versus Chip. Chip seems not too thrilled about this matchup, and I understand why. I think this is a really tough deck to fight through. Envoy is an experience. But, you know, Primordial Gateway does kind of help. This is like the matchup where Primordial Gateway is here for. Deafening Clarion does have real text. All of their things die to Deafening Clarion, except for the Godslaughter Titans, but, like... Oh, I guess the Arcade Junkies survive it as well. That's annoying. I don't know. Chip seemed worried about this matchup, so I'm going to trust Chip and give the edge to Lee, but I also think I'm going to give the edge to Lee because I know that this has become a feud between the two of them, and I know that Lee keeps coming out on top on that feud, and so I almost just don't want to vote for Chip for the sake of being on the winning side of that dispute. But I also do want to root for Chip. Didn't have Chip on this stream this time around, but Chip is normally here with me through most of the stream, and I've been missing her. This has been tough to go through on my own. So, fuck the feud. I want to see Chip win this. Sorry, Lee. I guess that is the feud, but I like both their decks. I have my issues with Envoy, but I do like the deck. And I love Battle Control, so. I think Crush has cinched it against Bai. Bai has a history of losing matches. I don't know. We'll have to see what the record is. Cat and Tree against Nyx. Naya Monument versus Mono Black Villainy. I have no idea what this Mono Black deck is cooking. I kind of just want to go for the, like, known quantity. Monument Weftheart is, like, clearly getting some respect to its name. Chip is a very cool person, as is Lee. Yeah, they're both pretty cool people, it turns out. Like, it's hard to want to root for one of them over the other, because they're both pretty damn fun to interact with, and they're both really cool members of this community. And they're both absolutely stomping GPs. Over half of the GP qualification, over half of the world's qualifications are just the two of them. Or rather, were claimed by the two of them and then got passed down to people who were not already qualified. As is my understanding anyways. So yeah, they are really, really strong competitors. Like, I know I'm in Worlds, so when the inevitable, uh, like, Worlds, Fantasy Worlds goes on, I will be absolutely flattered when anyone votes for me. If I were in my shoes, or if I were in a spectator's shoes, Fantasy World, having to vote for me or vote for Lee or Chip, I would never vote for me. I'm going to do my best to try and win Worlds in April, but I'm going to be realistic. I think you vote for Lee or you vote for Chip. At least my perspective right now. We'll see how they both adjust to the new format, though. We'll see how they adjust to Solitaire and how they adjust to balance patches through the remainder of the season. But yeah, they're both such strong competitors that I think I would be stunned to get Fantasy Worlds votes compared to either of them. I think it's gonna be tough for a lot of us Worlds qualified players to get any fantasy votes compared to the two of them. I think they're going to absolutely dominate the Fantasy Worlds votes, given their performances this past year, and I think rightly so. So, anyways, Cat and Tree versus Nyx. Uh, Again, like I think I just lean towards the known quantity of like Monument has been doing some cool stuff. Uh, Weftart's been doing some cool stuff. There's something here that Nyx is cooking, and obviously, if last month has proven anything, if Nyx's history in this format has proven anything, Nyx shows up and has some truly fucking unhinged idea that absolutely sweeps the format. So I'm kind of scared to vote against Nyx, because I'm not sure I'm seeing what's going on here. But a month ago, I had no idea what the hell Nyx was cooking with Laboratory Maniac, and then it turned out to be one of the most frustrating decks I've ever experienced. And I didn't even have to actually experience it. So I'm so sorry, Cat and Tree, if you're watching this. As much as I want to lean towards the known quantity, I feel like at this point I need to learn my lesson of not like I'm not allowed to doubt Nyx anymore. I'm allowed to doubt Nyx when Nyx starts to give me a reason to doubt, and so far Nyx has proven really reliable. So I'm gonna have some faith in Nyx here. I think we're gonna see Mono Black probably put in a bit of work. Though one thing I will give in favor of Cat and Tree is primarily enchantment based deck against a color that historically really struggles with enchantments and no enchantment removal in the 75. So I don't know. We'll see. Transcendent Council forces enchantments to be sacrificed. That's a thing that can be done against enchantments. I don't know. We'll see how that one shakes out. And then finally, Epid versus H Squid, which is going to be the Laurel deck up against the bait. I'm voting Epid because I'm mad that I got baited. Realistically, I think this is a pretty tough match. I think it does actually skew Epid. I think that life gain deck looks really spooky. But if anything's going to be able to try and keep up with the amount of life that is being gained, I feel like it's going to be like Smiling Sludge, Envoy of the Fallen, Lightless Conquest. Just so much damage over and over and over and over. I don't know. We'll have to see on that one. But I suspect it's going to be really strong. And I suspect it could be pretty close. I think I'm going to give the edge to Epid, but I would not be surprised to see H Squid take that one. So yeah, I look forward to everyone in round one proving me wrong, and proving that I truly have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to evaluating the field. But I think that there's a lot of really cool decks in the field right now. A handful of convergent ideas, both from people kind of picking similar strategies that have been performing well in League, both the people who've been innovating on the strategies and people who've been identifying, this is a really strong strategy, starting to play it for themselves. And plenty of sort of out of the box stuff going on as well. I'm nervous, but then again, I was really nervous last May, and I was also pretty confident that I was onto something with red-green counters in that particular brew of aggro, and I think this is the closest I've come to feeling confident about looters since May of last year. Obviously has some weaknesses. Spirit Realm Phoenix is much worse than it used to be because it's not coming back to your hand for free. Calamity Cat does not have haste. You have to kind of play it more proactively now. Fabricated Anomaly now makes a legendary artifact token, so you can't dig as deep with multiple anomalies. But I think March of the Long Night is going to absolutely ruin people's days. I think Face of Animosity is going to murder people. I think Manifest Not is going to be really solid, especially with how grindy some of these matches are looking. And, yeah, I'm excited to try and put my theory to the test. So that is going to be all for me. Nice 2-hour stream to kind of cap out our evening. I have been awake for 20 hours, so I'm going to go cease my consciousness very promptly here. But this has been a ton of fun doing the Decklist stream as always. I hope you all are as excited for the GP as I am. Can't wait to dive into some matches and start uploading my match videos to all of you. I will try to get the deck tech out tomorrow as soon as I can think to. And I also need to reach out to Raboka about scheduling our round 1 match. Until then, as always, I have the links in the description below for all of your key resources, although I imagine, based on folks in chat, y'all know where to go for all the things. You don't need the description for that. But I guess if you haven't said anything and maybe you are interested, check those resources out, join the Discords, join the conversation, and yeah. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the Revolution chat. Bye-bye.